BMW has always promised us the ultimate driving machine. But what happens when one of the most iconic models, the M2, returns sharper, faster, and more powerful than ever? Is this the rebirth of a legend, or just clever marketing wrapped in carbon fiber? Today, we dive deep into the 2025 BMW M2, and trust me, this isn't just another sports car review. The M2 has always been the purest choice, a compact coupe that balances raw performance with everyday usability. But the 2025 version? BMW has turned the dial up to 11. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a statement. Under the hood, the 2025 M2 gets a serious boost. BMW's engineers have unleashed more horsepower from the twin-turbocharged inline-six, now pushing out a staggering 473 horsepower, making it the most powerful M2 to date. The result? A 0 to 60 time that's flirting with the 3-second range. That's supercar territory in a car that still seats 4. But speed is only half the story. One glance at the new M2, and you know this isn't a car that plays by the rules. The aggressive stance, muscular lines, and redesigned aerodynamics give it a menacing presence on the road. Add in the optional carbon fiber roof, wider track, and adaptive M suspension, and you're looking at a machine built for both the Autobahn and the racetrack. Step inside, and BMW has blended tradition with cutting-edge tech. The curved digital display dominates the cockpit, while M-specific drive modes put performance at your fingertips. Yet, it's not all digital wizardry. The M2 still keeps that analog thrill alive with a 6-speed manual option, a rare gift in today's automatic-dominated world. But the real question is, how does it feel to drive? Early test drivers describe it as precise, playful, and utterly addictive. Whether you're carving mountain roads or unleashing on a track, the M2 doesn't just move, it dances. It's the perfect balance of power and control, engineered to remind you why you fell in love with driving in the first place. So, is a 2025 BMW M2 truly more speed, more power, more thrills? Absolutely. But it's more than that. It's a reminder that in an era rushing toward electric silence, BMW still knows how to make our hearts race with pure combustion passion. The M2 isn't just better, it's a modern-day classic in the making. What do you think? Does the new M2 live up to its legendary status, or has BMW strayed too far from its roots? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating cars. But here's where things get really fascinating. The M2 isn't just another model in BMW's lineup. It's carrying the weight of history. Think about it. The legendary E30 M3, the cult favorite 1M Coupe, and the first-gen M2, all of them icons for enthusiasts who wanted a compact car with the heart of a race machine. The 2025 M2 steps into those shoes, and the pressure couldn't be higher. And yet, it feels like BMW has delivered exactly what fans demanded, a car that refuses to compromise. Of course, the M2 doesn't exist in a vacuum. The sports car world is fiercer than ever. You got the Audi RS3 snapping at its heels, the Porsche Cayman chasing perfection, and even muscle cars like the Ford Mustang Dark Horse trying to steal the spotlight. But here's the difference. The M2 is rear-wheel drive purity, with chassis so finely tuned that it doesn't just compete, it dominates. This isn't about straight-line speed. It's about the art of driving itself. And maybe that's why this car matters more than we realize. We're living through a time when automakers are shifting to hybrids and EVs. Silence, efficiency, range anxiety, that's the future. But the M2, it's a rebel. It's loud, unapologetic, and gasoline-fed. For enthusiasts, it's more than a car. It's a statement that the spirit of driving is still alive. But here's the big question. Is this the last of its kind? Could the 2025 M2 be the final fully combustion M car before BMW takes everything electric? If that's true, then this isn't just the fastest M2. It's a piece of history. And if you ask me, that makes it more thrilling than any EV could ever be. For drivers, that possibility adds an emotional weight every time you turn the key or press the start button. It's not just about acceleration figures or lap times anymore. It's about savoring a driving experience that might soon disappear. The growl of the inline-six, the vibrations through the gear lever, the tail-happy slide around a corner. These sensations aren't numbers on a spec sheet. They're memories in the making. And that's where BMW's genius really shows. This isn't brute force engineering. It's precision artistry. The balance between front and rear, the way the steering communicates every nuance of the road, the perfectly weighted manual gearbox. It's a symphony of mechanics designed to make the driver feel alive. In an age of AI-driven cars, the M2 feels refreshingly human. Imagine this. An empty stretch of mountain road, the M2 in Sport Plus, manual mode engaged, and every bend ahead begging to be attacked. The rear wheels push, the chassis grips, and for those few minutes, it's just you, the machine, and the road. That's not transportation, that's liberation. And that's exactly why enthusiasts are calling the new M2 one of the purest driving experiences money can buy. Car meets, track days, online forums. The M2 is already sparking conversations. Owners are saying it feels like BMW has given them a gift. A car that respects tradition, but refuses to feel outdated. And with tuning potential baked into its DNA, the aftermarket scene is about to explode. The M2 is not just a car. It's a canvas for performance lovers worldwide. Because here's the truth. BMW could have easily softened the M2, made it more comfortable, more digital, more mainstream. But they didn't. Instead, they doubled down on what makes an M car special: connection. That decision speaks volumes about BMW's philosophy. Even as they pour billions into electrification and autonomous technology, they know there has to be room for passion, for emotion, for the raw thrill of driving. The M2 is proof that the brand hasn't forgotten its roots. But owning an M2 isn't just about performance numbers. It's about identity. Pulling into a gas station, you'll notice the double takes. At car meets, you'll find fellow enthusiasts circling around it, trading stories of their favorite BMWs. And on a quiet morning commute, when traffic clears for just a few seconds, you'll feel that instant rush as the engine roars to life. It's a car that turns the mundane into the memorable. And let's not forget, this isn't a car for everyone. The M2 is a driver's car, unapologetically so. It demands skill, respect, and yes, a little bravery. But that's exactly why it's special. In a world of cars designed to do everything for you, the M2 insists that you take control. That's not a compromise, it's a privilege. And yet, behind the roar of that straight six, there's a quiet storm brewing. BMW's electric division is accelerating faster than ever, with concepts like the iVision D and next-gen i4S redefining what the brand's future looks like. So what role does the M2 play in this electric horizon? It's almost like a bridge, a reminder of what made BMW iconic, and a benchmark for what their first electric M cars will have to live up to. Because if an EV can't match the thrill, the emotion, the soul of an M2, then enthusiasts won't buy into it. And that scarcity is already taking shape. Dealers are reporting long waiting lists, with enthusiasts scrambling to secure one before allocations dry up. Prices are holding strong, and in some cases, already creeping above MSRP. That tells you everything. People know what this car represents, and they're willing to fight for it. Owning an M2 isn't just buying a car. It's buying into a legacy, an experience, and maybe even an investment. But here's the twist. For all its track-bred DNA, the M2 doesn't punish you for daily driving. The adaptive suspension softens when you need comfort. The tech suite keeps you connected. And the cabin is surprisingly practical for performance coupe. This dual nature, beast on the weekend, companion during the week, is what makes it more than just a toy. It's a reminder that performance doesn't have to come at the expense of usability. And for the people who drive it, the M2 isn't just transportation, it's identity. It says you value purity over excess, precision over gimmicks. Park it next to SUVs, EVs, and luxury cruisers, and it stands out not because it's the biggest or the flashiest, but because it's authentic. That authenticity resonates with a generation of drivers who feel cars are losing their soul. That's why the M2 has become more than a machine. It's a social signal. At weekend car meets, it's a car that draws both the curious and the purists. On social media, it's racking up reels and TikToks, celebrated not for being the flashiest, but for being the real deal. And when you see one on the road, there's almost an unspoken nod between drivers, a recognition that you're part of a rare club who gets it. And then there's the thrill of rivalry. Put the M2 up against an Audi RS3 at a stoplight, and while the Audi's all-wheel drive grip might jump ahead for the first few meters, the M2 claws back with raw rear-wheel drive fury on a twisty back road against a Porsche Cayman. It's the M2's balance and torque that surprise people. It may weigh more, but it dances with precision. Even American muscle like the Mustang Dark Horse finds itself challenged, because while brute power makes noise, the M2 turns precision into poetry. Every drive becomes a story. The cold start growl on a winter morning. The way the tires bite into fresh tarmac on a mountain pass. The thrill of hitting redline with your hands gripping a manual shifter. Each moment feels cinematic, like you're starring in your own driving film. And maybe that's the greatest trick the M2 pulls off. It doesn't just move you physically, it moves you emotionally. Picture this. You're carving through an alpine pass, the echo of the straight six bouncing off the cliffs. Each downshift crackles like applause from the mountains themselves. Snow still lingers on the peaks, but the asphalt is clean, dry, and begging for speed. You push the throttle, the rear digs in, and suddenly the world narrows to just a road, the steering wheel, and that engine note. That's not just driving, that's theater, and the M2 is both the stage and performer. Shift scenes. The city at night, neon lights reflecting off the sculpted bodywork. The hum of nightlife buzzing around you. Most cars fade into the traffic, but the M2 commands presence even at a standstill. A low rumble at a stoplight. The glow of the digital cluster inside. It feels alive, like a predator waiting to pounce. And when the light turns green, it's not about racing the car next to you. It's about unleashing controlled chaos in the middle of an urban jungle. And here's the part that sticks with drivers most. The connection doesn't fade. Weeks, months, even years into ownership, the car still excites. You don't get numb to it. If anything, it grows on you, like a favorite song that somehow gets better every time you hear it. That's rare. Most cars become normal. The M2 refuses to. And that refusal isn't an accident. It's baked into its DNA. BMW didn't design the M2 in isolation. Every curve of the chassis, every gear ratio, every suspension tweak carries echoes of the brand's motorsport heritage. From touring car championships to legendary Nürburgring battles, the M2 feels like it has inherited the scars, the victories, the spirit of BMW's racing lineage. It's not just a road car. It's a distilled fragment of BMW's track history, brought to life for the everyday driver. In fact, much of the M2's development happened on the Nürburgring, that unforgiving 13-mile track in Germany that eats cars alive. Hours upon hours of testing, pushing it to its limits, breaking it down, rebuilding it stronger. That's why, when you throw it into a corner, it feels unshakably planted. It's carrying lessons learned from one of the toughest proving grounds on Earth. And within BMW's hallowed M division, the M2 is something of a darling. Engineers, they're called the driver's car, the one they build for themselves as much as for the public. Unlike the larger M3 or M5, which have to juggle luxury and practicality, the M2 is stripped back, raw, freer. It doesn't have to be everything for everyone. It just has to be perfect for those who truly love driving. And that love stretches back decades. The M2 doesn't just stand alone. It's part of a bloodline. Think of the E30 M3 of the late 80s, a car that became a motorsport icon and a cult classic for enthusiasts. Or the limited-run BMW M1 Coupe, a short-lived rebel that's now one of the most sought-after modern classics. Each of those cars shared one philosophy: compact dimensions, high-revving engines, and a chassis that begged to be pushed. The 2025 M2 is their heir, carrying the torch into a new era. Drive it, and you feel those ghosts beside you. The precise steering whispers of the E46 M3's balance. The torque punch reminds you of the E92's V8 drama. Even the way the car pivots around corners feels like an echo of the cars that made BMW legends on both road and track. The past is alive every time the tires screech, every time the tachometer climbs. That's why enthusiasts measure everything against it. It's not just, how fast is the M2? It's, does it capture the feeling the old cars gave us? And the surprising answer, Yes, it does. But it doesn't stop there. It evolves it. It gives us the same connection, but sharper, faster, more refined. It's proof that BMW hasn't just remembered its past. It's actively honoring it. So where does that leave us? The 2025 BMW M2 is more than a spec sheet, more than a status symbol. It's the culmination of decades of engineering passion, a love letter to driving itself. In a world that's accelerating toward electric silence and automated steering, the M2 defiantly shouts back with horsepower, feedback, and soul. It isn't just the next chapter in BMW's story. It's a bold exclamation point. For some, it will be the last chance to experience a pure M car in its rawest form. For others, it will be the car that defines an era, the bridge between what was and what's to come. And maybe years from now, when roads are filled with whisper-quiet EVs, people will look back at the 2025 M2 and say, that was a car that kept the flame alive. Faster, more powerful, more thrilling? Absolutely. But the truth is the 2025 BMW M2 isn't just better, it's unforgettable.